How do you play this hero, and how can you live like this? This hero has no bash, no undodgeables, no external pressure, no range on her so-called swords, and of course, reflex guards still exist after 5 years. If you're like me, you can't block to save your life when you're using reflex guard heroes. Reflex in For Honor is determined by reacting to the red indicators that show up, but they decided to make this entire game read-based after the core combat update. So what's the point of having reflex guard now when this is a read-based game and not a reaction one? Riddle me that, War Mommy. The only reason I can think of is because Ubisoft are making the interns balance the game now. I'm serious though, thinking you blocked an attack and seeing your characters get hit by an incoming attack is probably the day-to-day experience of assassin mains. Peacekeeper is an assassin hero in the Knight faction. If you like dual-wielding and petite women, you will undoubtedly be flocking over to her. Her fashion is top tier and embodies the atmosphere of Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed franchise. I personally know a few individuals who would always pick a hero or class specifically if they are hooded. I ain't one to judge, but they got a good sense of style. She even has that one mask that the bad guy has in Ninja Gaiden for those men of culture that know. Otherwise, my favorite set is her mascara one. It looks like she's staring into my soul. She's quickly telling me to turn back because all there is pain with her. Wish more heroes would wear more mascara, and people in general I suppose, but it's not socially acceptable for me, even though it would make my eyes pop like firecrackers. Oh wait, Black Power wears mascara, and eyeliner, or eyeshadow, whichever one it is. I don't know, I don't wear makeup. There's at least one sword or dagger that you'll love. Frankly, so many of them are amazing, and I haven't even bought the battle pass weapons that we've gotten before in the past, which were, oh my gosh, they're so fantastic. I honestly have one regret in my life, and that regret is not buying the battle pass for some of these weapons. I mean, look at this. And the other regret is playing For Honor when I could have been playing Elden Ring or Bloodborne 24 hours a day. But I digress. The main point of this video is that I'm honestly a bit surprised on how well I am doing or how well I can do with this hero. Before in my previous videos, I've always said that she was trash tier in Dominion. A scary hero in duels, very fair, a little bit too much damage, but I never realized she wasn't as bad as I thought she was. Take this pile of horseshit. This is what I thought Peacekeeper was. Now, after playing her for a prolonged period of time, I now view Peacekeeper as a pile of dog shit. But I'm now willing to touch it every once in a while.
This kind of person. Pathetic.
Peacekeeper players these days wake up in the morning and they literally think about why they get up in the morning. Sure made me do the same thing after playing consecutive games with her. Like I said before, she's a really strong duelist and many people like playing in duels. Unfortunately, Ubisoft decided to balance for 4v4 Dominion. And here's the kicker, baby. They balanced Warden, Nobushi, and Shigoki at the same time, but her rework was built all around 1v1. All these other heroes that were reworked at the same time, they were reworked for Dominion. I think you can argue for Warden he was based around a 1v1 perspective, but the unblockable chain heavy finishers are just gonna help him out so much. Man, it's like they don't even know what the heck they are doing. Let's just think about this for a second, alright? Let's just think about it for like a half a second. They gave Nobushi undodgeable chain heavies and an undodgeable hidden stance heavy to catch people who dodge away from her. Clearly a team fighting balance decision. They gave Warden unblockable chain heavy finishers with better tracking, great for externaling your opponents, and Valiant Breakthrough, his dashing forward heavy to catch dodge rollers in team fights. You can't roll away from him in 1v1s or duels. They gave Shigoki iframes on his dodge headbutt and made it so fast and easy that you could literally avoid any attack whatsoever if you just dodge external with the headbutt. It's one of the best dodge bashes in the entire game, no doubt. And let's not forget about Shigoki's hug. Instead of using it within his charged heavy mix-up, acting as a saw feint bash of sorts, it now just comes out with one button, and that's incredibly better for ganking purposes. It's much easier to use and easier to set up with someone landing a heavy attack, and in so many cases, it can be used as a continuous ganking tool to 100 to 0 somebody, and it's just hilarious. This was all happening at the same time as Peacekeeper's rework, so they know what they wanted. They know what philosophy they wanted to give to these heroes when it came to teamfight potential. Why rework Peacekeeper as a duelist when you promote 4v4 competitions and only focus on the Dominion game mode? It's idiotic. No wonder nobody takes you seriously and everyone just calls Ubisoft a joke, and I feel bad for that because I know some people do work hard in that, you know, the dev team. Obviously some people are just blah, blah, blah. But come on, man, you can't expect us to take you seriously after this. Peacekeeper's rework is honestly a great design, but that's specifically only for duels. If you're playing duels, it's great. If you're playing 4v4, it is cock and ball torture. Another funny tidbit is that when Griffin came out a couple weeks after, or I think a month or so, we can see his kit was specifically designed for team fights too. Granted, he pretty much took every single character from each factions, like heavy attacks, Lawbringer's bash, Jang Jun's zone, just every single person's heavy attack or light attack and whatever animation. Griffin is basically amalgamations of every single character. It's hilarious, but his entire kit is designed around team fights and being able to hold his own. He has an amazing dodge attack, which a lot of people compare to Kensei. You used to be able to delay it just like Kensei. It was incredibly good. A strong bash to open people up, a chain bash with incredibly high damage values before it was nerfed. Wide-ranging side heavies were great to external pressure, and supportive healer / damage paladin playstyle. He's just a really cool hero in design, but with his overtuned rework, and it was mostly just his damage values, he was just hated and hated upon. Now the thing is, I'm assuming they didn't really want to work on Peacekeeper anymore after realizing that they made everyone else good in teamfights in Dominion, so they're just like, whatever, let's just scrap it. We got better things to work on. We're firing like 5 other devs, so we don't have time to work on this. That's so sad. I mean, look, even a Griffin bot is better than a player Peacekeeper. So what was her rework? Well, basically, she does get an unblockable heavy attack, but she's gotta land a bleed first. It's not the hardest thing to do since her soft feint bleed is so fast, and Guardbreak is your best friend, but why give her an extra step when every other hero gets an unblockable on their chain heavy finishers anyways without putting any extra work whatsoever like she does? Now, don't get me wrong, I like this idea. This is a really fun concept. It makes the game a lot more fun. It makes her more challenging to play. But it doesn't work in 4v4 or in Dominion that well. Compared to other heroes, you might as well just pick something else. I love it, but I also hate it. It holds little to no value and wastes more time of your revenge meter, in team fights. You're practically telling everybody you like cock and ball torture. It slows down your ability to kill quickly, which, may I remind you, is the meta of this game right now. The faster you can kill your opponent through ganks, the stronger your hero is. Now with that in mind, PK needs to deal bleed damage, which if someone externals you, you have no way to deal real pressure, forcing you to rely on your teammates. And in matchmaking, that can be hell. I enjoy that kind of pain. Now after that bleed, that's when she actually has viable offense, and she can be actually pretty scary. When they are bled, she now has enhanced lights, which means she can continue her chain offense unless you parry her. Fast chain light attacks, access to unblockable chain heavy finishers with a soft feint, guard break, or top light. This either means you take the unblockable heavy to the face, soft feint bleed from her chain pressure, or the 38 damage stab. That's right, baby. Peacekeeper's only redeeming quality that actually makes her, it deals 38 damage, just like how I used to when the game first came out. They never lowered the damage values even after the rework, and even after they lowered all the damage values across the board during the CCU, they didn't even change that. Come on, there's actually a bunch of issues when the CCU first dropped. All the damage values are mixed around. Some of them were higher, some of them were lower. It was just hilarious. That just screams incompetence to me, I'll tell you what. I told you, they literally have interns working on this game now. It's actually mind-boggling. So if any of you guys take this seriously, I would seriously rethink that, okay? Rethink your life! All jokes aside though, this hero has had an interesting life cycle the past 5 years. In the early years of For Honor, Peacekeeper used to deal a ton of damage. She still kept her 38 damage triple kidney stabs, but she also had a really nice wall punish. Since I wasn't a content creator when For Honor first released, I wasn't able to record footage of old Peacekeeper, so I hopped into my time machine and went back 4 years to find this video of Peacekeeper. As you can see, she initially does 2 stabs and throws the opponent while following up with a dodge heavy. You can still do this, but the damage is significantly reduced now. Look at all that bleed damage, holy Shinto. Apparently it's like 55 damage, but keep in mind, normal heavy attacks did like 30 damage back then, so even those values are incredibly high for a guard break. And guard break used to be very prevalent because after every single parry, you could just guard break them and they wouldn't be able to counter guard break. That was hilarious. Good times. Another really powerful aspect of her kit was her 400 MS zone attack. Now keep in mind 400 MS was probably the fastest, actually it was the fastest attack that we essentially have in For Honor. When option selects were still in the game, this was one of the best ways to deal with mix-ups. Some of you may be wondering what an option select is, so let me tell you, Jimmy. Back in the day, if you saw an unblockable heavy attack or a light attack or heavy attack or any red indicator, instead of parrying with your normal heavy attack, you'd parry with a zone attack. The reason you did this was because if they decided to feint their heavy attack, they could not guard break you afterwards, since the zone would make them bounce back. If they decide to let it fly, you would also still be able to parry it. This covered two options, and that's why they call it the option selects. This worked for every single attack, even not bashes, but like lights, normal heavies, and all kinds. And so they finally removed it, making the game feel a lot better to play, and frankly, that's saying a lot given how the circumstances are with For Honor right now. Now, even though her option select was 400 MS, which I think that was the only 400 MS option select, you'd be able to parry it and get a free heavy attack. However, this was incredibly fast, and you had to be prepared for it, and you really needed to be on crack or Adderall to focus that much, because God knows I ain't gonna be focusing that hard on For Honor. And then after that, they essentially lowered her speed of her zone attack back in line to 500 MS and made it a heavy parry, bringing her in line with the rest of the hero's zone attacks. So what does she really have in 4v4? Even her perks and feats really aren't worth mentioning. Stealth can be fun, and so can your crossbow, but I mean, last laugh, it's hilarious, right? But it's situational. Catapult has been severely nerfed ages ago, and I don't remember how long it's been, but nobody really runs that anymore, and you rarely ever die unless you roll into it, like I do sometimes. But you know, feats aren't really the biggest strength for Peacekeeper. Probably the Devour, Remedy, and Headhunter, since she runs fast executions usually, and that's what I would usually run, and I feel like that helps her out a lot more when it comes to survivability. And Stealth is just really helpful because her forward dodge heavy, it's pretty good, but then again, a lot of people have good forward dodge heavies. That's the only thing I'd say that's the only redeeming factor about this character. So how do we fix her for 4v4? And more importantly, when do we fix her? Unless you really like cock and ball torture. I feel like she's been forgotten and left behind like Nobushi and others. Just because they already got a rework doesn't mean it was a good one, I'll tell you what. So I'm going to suggest some changes, and you guys can let me know down below your thoughts, ideas, and opinions on the matter at hand. I'm sure there are other Peacekeeper mains who want to do her right. Giggity. So let me know in the comments. But as I've said before, I really like her in duels, as she feels like a skill-based character. You don't need to get things for free, and you are heavily rewarded for being able to use your kit to its highest potential. I don't want to add too many crazy things, as I like to keep things very, very simple. The first thing I like to change is her damage on her triple kidney stabs. 38 is just way too damn high for a guard break punish. It's just too much. You can't argue that it's not OP. It's the animation that I really like, and setting it to like 24 or 26 works perfectly for me, because Orochi and Shinobi, they get very high damage guard break punishes as well, but it's just not as good as Peacekeepers. The second thing I'd like to change is to give her more reach, as her lights and heavies have basically little to no tracking. That alone will help her in so many teamfight situations, I swear to Glob. If we look at any of the new heroes with reworks or not, we can see that everyone who throws side heavies can catch people like literally miles in front of them. This even applies to assassin heroes like Orochi, whose side heavies are basically undodgeable now. That would improve her team fights tremendously. The third thing I'd like to add is to give her soft feint dodge cancel after one of her finishers. I'd like to stress to not giving her dodge cancels after every single attack, especially not after a dodge attack, as it would just be really annoying to deal with. Look at Pirate, okay? Just look at that's the example that I'll always give. People say I have an agenda to nerf her, and they are correct, because I think she has a little bit too much dodge recoveries. Just give her one on like a light attack or a heavy finish or something like that, then I'm okay with it. I'm not 100% sure where to give it to her though, but perhaps after her finisher heavies and maybe her neutral heavies, to help her feel more elusive as an assassin hero. She already has a soft feint dodge cancel, but it's only on her neutral heavies, which, might I add, is practically useless because there's no real reason to dodge when you use a heavy startup attack. The only niche time you would use it is if you were trying to play for clips, to pat yourself on the back like myself and let everyone know how good you are at For Honor. The fourth thing I'd like to add is to give her just normal access to an unblockable heavy chain finisher. This is basically a must-have in Dominion because without one, you have no external pressure whatsoever. The idea of having to get bleed on your opponent before you can use a necessary fundamental tool to deal damage is just absurd. It's unique for sure, like don't get me wrong, but we can't kid ourselves because this is the main reason she's weak in Dominion. If you want it to be undodgeable, sure, we can do that, but just some form of external pressure to deal damage besides chip damage is needed with this kit. The last thing I would improve to her kit is to give her access to the second chain heavy after the first heavy attack. A little bit confusing, but let me explain. So if you land a heavy attack, you can't follow up with the bleed if you want to enter your chain heavy attack. You have to skip the bleed, which lowers her damage output, which is only 20 damage on her neutral heavies, I believe. And so that for a light parry is kind of disgusting and very low and traumatic for me to use, especially when I'm using a hero like Shinobi who can get like 26 or 28 damage for a light parry. Instead, let her use her bleed follow-up on her heavy attack and let her continue her chain heavy mix-up so you don't limit her mix-up potential. Giving her access to a second heavy attack would just be fantastic. And to take it a step further, maybe even letting her do a heavy into light combo, giving her a 3-hit chain on her heavy startup. So it'd be a heavy, light, or heavy, heavy attack, heavy, light, heavy attack. And the last thing is, who is the idiot that decided to change her deflect input to a heavy? That is so annoying. Change it back to light, you numbskulls. And give her guaranteed deflects. Any hyper armor or whatever, it gets stopped if you get a deflect. That's how it always should be for every single assassins. Just make like a hotfix or something, Ubisoft. Hotfix so that every deflect just literally just works, okay? Every time you get it. I don't care if it's accidental or not, as long as you do the right input. And that's the gist of my reworked ideas. Simple, but effective. And without power creep involved, I'll tell you what. It'll help her compete with the top tiers in Dominion and give her quality of life changes in duels too. This video was pretty long as I've got a lot to say about Peacekeeper because she's been in the game for so long and hasn't gotten the proper respect or acknowledgement from Ubisoft. Share the video and like it so Ubisoft can see it, and maybe we can get her reworked once again. These are the box's ideas, so if you got yours, please don't be shy. Let me know down below in the comments. I always love seeing your thoughts on your favorite heroes. That'll do it for me though. Appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me today. I will be working on Valkyrie, Warden, and Nobushi for the future ones, so be sure to subscribe if you enjoy this content. More Elden Ring stuff soon. Bye bye. See you later.